Hey, what's up guys? I'm Easy Schmidt. I hope you're all doing well. And today I'm going to give you another music theory lesson. We are going to talk about dissonance, or more specifically, what causes dissonance? That's a good question that many people are always wondering. I know some people, like, for answers, some of our smart Alecs are going to be like, oh, I think it's a bad note, or maybe it's a non-diatonic note, or a note played outside of the key that causes dissonance. Actually, I'm sorry, but no, both of those answers are incorrect. The reason those answers are incorrect, number one, about the bad note, is there is actually no such thing as a bad note. If you take like a piano or a guitar and play any single note on the instrument, and of course it has to be in tune, obviously. If you're going to play a piano that has a note or a key with 3 strings in which one of them is out of tune, it's going to sound awful. It's going to sound like a poorly made honky-tonk piano. Anyways, like I said, if you play any single note on a piano or guitar or any pitched instrument, tell me if you hear any single note that sounds bad to you. Okay, and the reason why non-diatonic or notes played outside of the key that you're playing in doesn't cause dissonance is because there are actually a lot of songs with borrowed chords. For example, like 5 of 5 chords or 5 of 6 chords, for example. Basically, borrowed chords outside of the keys, used for modulations. It actually sounds very good, though. I'll give you an example of a song.
Okay, so now that my piano is visible, I will give you an example of a song. That's a very pretty song that probably many of you would recognize. I'd actually be pretty surprised that you wouldn't, though. But that's coming from me, a guy who has a musical background, a Jewish guy specifically, though, so we know a thing or two about music. But anyway, that's getting a little off topic. Sounded familiar. If you noticed, I used some chords outside of the key of C. The most common chords used within the key of C are C major, G major, dominant chord, or sometimes the dominant 7th. There's also the 4 chord, which is the F chord. Amen. Plagal cadence. Just a little fun fact to put out there. And then we also have the A chord, which is actually within the key of C, which is also called the 6th chord. But the chords that I used that were not within the key of C major are D major. That is actually outside of the key. D minor, however, is within the key of C major. For example, the song Lean on Me, which would be a good example. I know it's a little off topic, but you don't hear something like sounds a bit off, but anyways, there's a D major chord, then a G chord, which is a 5 chord, and then an E major chord, which is also outside of the key of C, to A minor, then F, G, C. That's kind of a reason why non-diatonic notes or chords played outside of the key are not dissonant. What actually does cause dissonance is symmetry. If you know what I mean by symmetry, I'm referring to note that actually, if you could draw out the different intervals or chords, if you could draw it out onto like as a triangle, for example, like a dissonant triad, it would look something like an isosceles triangle, as opposed to a major triad, or a minor triad would look something like a scalene-ish triangle. My best example of a dissonant or symmetrical interval would be the tritone. Reason why it is dissonant is because it is the equivalent of 6 half steps, or which is exactly 1/2 of an octave. If you inverted, for example, the B and took it down to the next octave, it's the exact same interval, which is why it's symmetrical and also why it causes instability. But then, of course, you also have other dissonant intervals, for example, like the major second. You can hear there's kind of a clash inside there, even though it doesn't bother me personally, my ears, but it's actually half of a major third. It splits the major third in half, which is a consonant interval. And even more dissonant is the minor second, because it splits the major second in half, which is already dissonant, so gorgeous, isn't it? Beautiful interval. Very eargasmic. Anyways, for example, with chords that are dissonant are the augmented and diminished triads. Here's an augmented triad. It is symmetrical, unlike the major triad, which is actually major third followed by minor third. The augmented triad, on the other hand, is major third followed by major third. But when you play the first intervals, it's a consonant interval. It's a minor sixths, which is inverted version of a major third. And also it is comprised, the two different thirds are major third. They're both consonant, but so why does this sound dissonant? It's because of symmetry. Because, like I said earlier, if you could draw this out into a triangle on a piece of paper, it would look something like an isosceles or equilateral triangle. Same with the diminished triad, which is like the symmetrical version of a minor triad, which is, minor triad is minor third followed by a major third. A diminished triad is, you guessed it, minor third followed by minor third. And surprisingly enough too, another reason why it could also be dissonant is because it splits the tritone in half. Likewise, that could also be drawn out as an isosceles triangle. And the same concept goes for a power chord. That's pretty consonant, or I should say perfect. It is consonant. It sounds pleasant sounding to, at least to me. It has kind of an epic vibe to it. Power chord is perfect fifth followed by perfect fourth. However, if you want to play a suspended chord, which would be the symmetrical version of a power chord, the suspended chord or nine chord or whatever you want to call it, it's got a number of different names. I actually don't know the proper term for it. Is perfect fifth followed by perfect fifth. Dissonant, right? I mean, it sounds good though, like in concept. Like the famous song Message in a Bottle. Uses these kinds of chords. Of course, at the last chord, he resolves it. So that's pretty much what causes dissonance in a nutshell, is symmetry. However, there is one exception to dissonance as far as like symmetry goes. One non-symmetrical dissonant interval, and that is the seventh, or the minor seventh, major seventh, minor seventh, major seventh. Even though this actually might split something in half, though. I don't know. Well, I mean, nothing that I can think of that's consonant, at least. But the reason why the seventh is dissonant, even though it's not exactly symmetrical to my knowledge, is because it is actually an inversion of the second, which is already symmetrical. For example, the major seventh is an inversion of the minor second. Invert the C, take it up an octave. Minor second. Same with the major seventh. Take this up an octave. Major second. Or so that's pretty much covers dissonance in a nutshell to my superior knowledge of music theory.
Although I actually did some research, though, fun fact, on symmetry, though, and I have never found anything on the internet, because this was a formula or a theory that I made up entirely on my own, is symmetry. Because, so I thought maybe that's like a new or different way to approach intervals and dissonance. So I thought maybe I should just share my original knowledge and original theories too of music theory. Well, that's all the time we have for this video today. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something from this video, because I know I certainly did. I guess you could say I kind of taught myself about symmetry. My own teacher. One of the theorists, the pioneers. Anyways, thanks for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe, comment below, smash that like button, and tell me if you want to see more interesting videos. I will make videos based on songs, and I will actually even post some songs and also videos of me playing guitar. I promise you, in the near future. Alright? But until then, I will see you next time. Ciao.